Well, how about that? The old turn it off and turn it back on. Okay, and you have the link. Hey, tell them, can you post that in our YouTube mod group DM? Also, how do I officially make y'all YouTube mods? Okay, also I'm seeing your chat now on YouTube. Are you able to hear me? Is my sound just as good in YouTube as it is here? Okay, awesome. So then you stay on Twitch. YouTube's dangerous. YouTube frightened you. Sweet. Uh, make you do push-ups here. Son of a bitch. Just clicking names. Let's find out. Who does moderator? Yeah, Eagle. I know. Wait, update the number. I don't see a, oh shit. I don't see a redeem. That's not good. Oh, no Dion. Chaos. I don't know where Dion is. You're like my son always asking me where his wallet is. I don't know where Dion is. He doesn't tell me where he is at all times. Want me to send you ass? Wait, what? I don't think that's a thing you can send. Oh, a screenshot. Um, no, the thing is, why should, well, okay. Yes, but chaos. I'm kidding. I'm just messing with you. Although it is true that I don't know where Dion is. Um, Eagle. The thing is, I need to get. I OBS used to show that, and now it doesn't. Eagle. Well, never mind. I was gonna say, okay, isn't the OBS chat supposed to show me point redeems? Yeah, but this is supposed to work in even if you're not dual streaming, even if just streaming to Twitch. Right. So the reason you don't know is because you don't use it, not because you don't dual stream. I guess is what I was clarifying. Yeah, I asked Rab about YouTube, but um, my question is about OBS. Chaos. It says Dion's live. That's weird. Um, Actually, I'm gonna do some of them as soon as I can fix this chat window. Uh, Hey, Elias, can you say something in the YouTube chat so I can make you a mod? Okay. Do anything else on stream? Yeah, I do lots of stuff. I'm going to be doing SAT and possibly LSAT practice today. Um, but I also do code names, uh, GeoGuessr, sometimes Roblox games, politics sometimes. 1 second, guys. I'm going to start an ad. Seven stream streak. Hell yeah. Oh, I see. I see, I see, I see. Eagle, when are you gonna be done? Like you done this week? Um, question, you don't know. You just have an indeterminate amount of finals. Chaos, nothing happened. I basically didn't do anything while the ad was running. Um, oh yeah, no, tonight. Okay, I can see where you added the squats, so at least I can change this. Okay, excellent. Um, so I'm gonna knock out some of these push-ups. All right, Eagle. I'm not gonna try and blow up my computer. I can promise that. Have a good night. See you later. Okay. Good idea, Chaos. Let's poll that. I'm gonna do some squats real quick. Oh, in hell. I don't like this because I can't have anything else on the screen when I do this. Okay, I think that was 60. If it wasn't, it still was. My back was straight. You mean vertical? No. Somebody voted for the SAT already. That's a bad vote. I'm just going to let you know. Alan said wow in YouTube. What were you saying wow about? Alan also said wow in Twitch. Chaos, I know how to do a squat. I also know I'm not doing proper form squats 860 fucking times on stream. I'll be doing nothing else. I'd like to stream myself doing something other than squats occasionally. However, I'll make you a deal. Take a video of yourself doing 800 proper form squats. Send it to me. If you do it, I will. So let's see. Okay. All right. Man, if I get this video and you turn out to be a fucking bodybuilder, I'm going to be annoyed. I just remember Dion is like super in shape. So if you're one of his gym buddies, I'm going to be annoyed. I'm still going to do it, but I'm going to be irritated because I just scammed myself, basically. Just walked right into that one. Oh, shit. Gotta plug in my lamp, guys. Oh, I'm regretting this already. Yeah, if you do 800 squats in 10 minutes, then you didn't do the form you're saying you did. What if the lamp plugged me in? It's a good question, Callum. I'm too tired to answer that. All right. Do we want to play some chess first, or do we want to just get straight into the SAT? I'm going to do one puzzle to get my brain warmed up. Oh, fuck. This is the one I started before and couldn't solve it. Oh, man. YouTube is lagging way behind. Prophet puzzle. I think I think you got the wrong prophet. Whoa, YouTube exists. No, not nearly as puzzle. Really seemed to have a good idea of what was going on, actually. Okay, so we voted that the SAT could kick my ass. So I guess let's start with the SAT. Well, you know what? It would have a better chance of kicking my ass in a bar fight than on paper. I'll put it that way. Some anime with each of the standardized tests personified. It's not a bad idea. Oh wait, I need to open Blue Book, don't I? If ACT would be the class clown. Where's my Blue Book at, though? What the hell are you talking about, Elias? All right, the kid that hasn't come to school in 4 months. Yeah, I think this isn't what I mean. I think this is what I mean. Actually, wait, let's go, let's look at this. Oh, whoops. Yeah, so this, speaking of the poll, people deciding that the SAT was the one that was going to get me. This was the first practice one I took on stream. This is the one where Greg was in here distracting the shit out of me, and I spent 2/3 of my time explaining to him why I was answering the question the way I was. This was the score I ended up with. So if I actually pay attention, I think I can squeeze out those last 10 points. What do you guys think? I'm going to get a scholarship, baby. So let's see if we can put a 1600 up there next to that 1590. You have faith that I will get distracted again? Yeah, but do you have faith that the distraction will stop me from from getting a perfect score? Is the question. Okay, I'm assuming it with practice test 4 that I did last time. And yes, I know this is covering the whole screen, but I'm going to fix it as soon as I see. Oops. Okay, the time has already started. Get Prophet to dress up as me and take the test. Interesting idea. Question now is, can you see this? Can you read what that says? Small for you? All right, let's see. Still trying to get into middle school. Somehow, I doubt that. All right, what about now? Red name. Is it? Can you see it better now? All right, cool. Okay, so there's a few different ways I approach these depending on, well, okay, for me, it doesn't actually matter that much how I approach it. There's a few different ways I teach students to approach it. One is acute precariousness. Yeah, obviously. Um, what I, the best thing to do to me, when you read it, just try and think of what you would put in that blank, and then go look for that. Well, that's the fastest way if you're comfortable enough with your vocabulary to do that. And when you do that, it doesn't actually have to be a single word. You can put a whole phrase in there. You can put a whole sentence in there, and then just look for the word that means that in the answer. But a better approach is, instead of looking for that, look for words that go through each answer choice and and hey, what's up, prehistoric? Um, and try and convince yourself that it's wrong. If you try to convince yourself that it's wrong and you can't, then it's probably right. But even so, just move to the next one. Once you've convinced yourself that three of them are wrong, that last one is the right one. It's a little bit slower, but you never have to second guess yourself. So that's the way I teach it, especially for students taking it the first time. I modify it a little bit when when we have a result to go over. Because if you got a 650 on the English, okay, then whatever you're doing is working. So go just stick with that. But depending on how you did on the first test, but or sorry, when you're studying for it for the first time, that's the approach I recommend for English questions. Go through and convince yourself what, look at each answer choice and convince yourself that it's wrong. Once you find three of those, the last one has to be right. Then, of course, you still want to take that one and plug it into the blank in your head and make sure it makes sense. But okay, so applying that approach, okay, we're we're tracking time with a high degree of what? Well, all right, already I know I want to say something like accuracy, right? I want to be correct about tracking the time, because otherwise it's useless. Uh, I don't know if accuracy is going to be on the answer choice. I mean, I do because I've looked, but if I'm approaching this as a student seeing it for the first time, having not sat here and talked about it for 5 minutes first, I haven't even looked over here yet. Um, I'm thinking something like accuracy. Then I go over here and I can say it's exactitude. But again, I'm not necessarily thinking like that. I'm just going through the answer choices. It's not precariousness. That sounds like something that's physically about to fall off something that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Okay, exactitude. I think that's probably right. But the important thing is I've tried to convince myself that it's wrong and I definitely can't. So resilience. Well, that means my tracking of time can can have something bad happen to it and come back from it. I don't. No, that doesn't really apply to anything. Inconspicuousness. No, I'm not trying to hide my time tracking. Right. So having gone through all of those, now it doesn't even matter if I don't know what exactitude means. I know it has to be the right answer because the other ones are definitely wrong. All right. So let's now the next sort of step that I teach to try to get more speed is look at the answer choices first. I'm just scanning through. Well, obviously, read the question first. Then I'm scanning through the answer choices. When I go here, all right, there's an increasing sense of we're being more feminist. Uh, where and then here's the contrast. It almost always will give you a contrast. So I want the opposite of the politics being not deliberately signaled. Okay, less deliberate, overt. Right, but again, I'm going to check the other ones. Prudently feminist. Well, that's definitely not the opposite of. That's similar to deliberate, right? Uh, cordial. How are we looking for? Inadvertently? No, we're doing it on purpose, right? And once you sort of get that technique ingrained in your head, make it a habit. It actually doesn't take that long either, and you get a huge amount of increased accuracy for very little time expense. Now, for the most part, I don't want to lose time anywhere, but it's okay to lose time on these because you're going to lose very little. And even if you get them, these aren't the ones you want. You're maximizing your time on anyway because they're already intended to be short. They're intended to not take you very long. So even if you got them as fast as possible, you're still not really saving very much time. So it's worth it on these to spend a few extra seconds and be absolutely sure that you got the right answer. We'll talk about big time saves on the longer questions. Um, Preceding a flare. All right. Well, preceding is what tells us this is the answer we want. Um, okay. The corona exhibits increased brightness above the region where the flare is about to happen, impending, right? Uh, it's not innocuous, it's obvious. It's not perpetual, it's temporary. It's not antecedent, because it hasn't happened yet. Antecedent means before, right? Um, oh, no, no, wait a minute. I'm sorry. I mean, it does mean after. But here we're talking about a location. Antecedent refers to a time, refers to something that happens after. It's going to happen later. So antecedent refers to when it's going to happen, not where. All right. Which choice best states the main purpose? Okay, now these are they look about the same in terms of length, but they're considerably bigger time sinks. So here's where we want our time saving uh, devices. Now I'm really gonna try to internalize the basic ideas of these answer choices before I go here to know kind of what I'm looking for. Am I comparing it with other sports? Am I giving details of how to play? Am I saying something about how players are chosen? Or am I explaining why, or is the narrator explaining why she might make the team? This is just telling you where the text came from. Doesn't help you that much. Taking the SAT is not like being in class. Anything you don't need to know, don't read it. It's a waste of time. Skip all this. Now, if you read this and you still don't know the answer, then go back to this stuff up at the top. Right? There's a chance that I shall make it, and here's all the reasons why. Boom. Right? Now, and notice in this case, I didn't go through the let's convince ourselves that these are wrong. I'm I'm going for time save now. I'm not taking the extra time. One, because the answer choices are a lot more complex here. So it's much less likely that I'm going to mistake a correct answer, mistake a wrong answer for a correct one. I don't really have to worry about that very much. Where the answer is a single word, I might make a mistake. Where the answer is these long descriptions, there's no way I'm going to get confused about, well, is this one right or is this one right? So I'm not worried about eliminating answers. I'm just trying to go to the correct one as fast as I can. Again, main purpose. All right. Significance of findings, advantages and disadvantages of the method, summarize the hypotheses, or to describe the experiment. Uh, One set out to test this hypothesis. Uh, Launch spheres into mud, and then he concluded, right? So we're describing the experiment. The results cast doubt on the established hypothesis. Okay, the hypothesis is that woolly mammoths were hunted to extinction by humans using spears. We did this experiment, and then we concluded that this likely is not what happened, right? All right. I'm getting a little bit lower on time than I should, so I'm not going to talk too much about it until I get to a different type of question. Okay. This is all about the symbol zero. Um, this is none of these say anything about zero, so it has to be this one. I barely read any of this. I skimmed this and I skimmed this looking for mentions of zero. This whole thing is about zero. This is the only answer that says anything about zero. Some of these are a little, I don't feel like trying to internalize all this, a little bit longer. So I'm just going to read the thing. Jupiter's smallest moon, Europa. Greenland's ice sheet. All right. Could be driven by a subsurface ocean. That's already, it's A. Um, this is almost, this is the other thing. When the answer choices are this long, you're going to find one, probably the correct answer is going to be almost just a condensed version of the article itself, of the text itself, which this is. I'm going to quickly look through these, but uh, even if this is true, there's no way that's the main idea. Uh, no, and no. All right. All right. Now we're reading a graph. Which choice most effectively uses data? A lot of these, your answer choices, three of them are going to be incorrect according to the chart. If you get one of those, you don't even have to read the rest of the text, right? 2016, cellular and molecular topic submissions were the same as animal science. Okay, there's animal science. There's cellular and molecular, not the same, so it's not A. 2019, physics and space science, medicine and health. Says there were more of these, which there aren't. No. Animal science, lowest number was 95. Not true. So it has to be this one. I'm not even going to bother reading. Might as well cut off my head. She prefers her hometown to other places she's visited. Okay, this is the only one that mentions other places. Which best supports the researcher's explanation? Here's the researcher's explanation. That's all we need to read. Trying to find items in new locations causes them to move through more of the store. I don't even have to read the rest. I'm guessing it means they buy more stuff. Boom. That's it. Right. I am going to look through the other answers on this one. That's the opposite of what the researchers are saying. Has nothing to do with what the researchers are saying. Answer. Thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Uh, Store is large. Yeah. Again, it's nothing to do with what they're saying. So, hey, how are you? Uh, which choice logically? All right. Again, because these are longer answer choices, I'm gonna not try to skim through them. I'm just gonna read the thing first. Am I gonna read the whole thing? Probably not. Each novel is a unique entity resulting. You know what? Let's. Yeah. So I am gonna have to speed up though. So we'll talk about the reasons when I get done. That's going pretty good. Prancer, how about you? So what's woven? The tapestries, not the textile artist, not the textile. Yeah, right. So this is describing a sequence. I mean, uncut off my head. Okay, I sped up too fast. Now I've got 7 minutes left to do 5 questions. Zamboni. Okay. First, next, last. Right? He improved on Edison's design for the light bulb. How so? Well, to be specific, right? This is a broad statement. Now we're going to make that statement specific. A piece stitches together symbols from native and non-native cultures. In so doing, blurs the distinction between contemporary and tradition, right? In other words, because it does this, it does this. Okay, here's the notes questions. This is the ones I really focus on with students. Most of the time, you don't have to read the notes. These questions, I think, are supposed to be the ones that take the absolute longest on the test, and they're almost always massive shortcuts if you're paying attention. So these are your time savers, like the big time savers. They're probably supposed to take 3 minutes each, and you can do them in less than a minute usually. All right, and here's how. The student wants to emphasize a similarity between the two tribe code talkers. That's all we need to know. There's probably only one answer that does that, regardless what the notes say. This doesn't emphasize a similarity. This doesn't. These two don't even mention both tribes, right? Hey, both of them did this same thing. How about that? That's emphasizing a similarity, right? And this is emphasizing a difference. So see, we didn't even have to look at the notes. There was only one answer choice that could have been correct. Student wants to explain an advantage of the archive being digital. Hey, here's an advantage, but it doesn't specifically say because it's digital. But this is possible. Ah, no, this is better. This is true whether it's digital or not. This is only true because it's digital. This would be true either way. Uh, this would also be true either way, right? So B is the only one that emphasizes an advantage of having it digital. No need to look at the notes. Student wants to use a quotation to support a claim. No quotation, no quotation, no quotation. Here's a quotation. Done. This is where you this is where you improve your English score. Um, it's practical things like this. It's not the SAT is a test of skill and critical thinking, not knowledge. Uh, but now I went a little fast because I've got 2 minutes left. So, and this is the last question. So I got plenty of time, but I am going to go back through these answers just in case. Ooh, support a claim about her contribution to rock and roll. First of all, this does have a quote. I read right over it and missed the fact that it has a quote. And actually, this one is right. This one doesn't use the quotation to support a claim about Tharp's contribution to rock and roll. This one does. So there we go. Um, now, obviously, when I work with a student on this, our goal is to get you to this point with at least, well, more time than what I have now, um, so that you can go back and check. Also, you're probably the first time when you get to this point, you're going to have unanswered questions. That's part of the technique that I teach and is how to manage skipping questions and going back to them. Can't really show that with me doing it because I haven't needed skipping and I'm not likely to need to. But I'll try. I mean, I don't know. I may try to find a way to simulate that. Oh man, I forgot that thing starts immediately. All right, I gotta go to the restroom. I'll be right back. Anyone heard any good knock knock jokes? I don't know. Uh, are there any? I'm kidding. Some of them are really good. Have you heard any lately over there across the big pond? I got to start it off. Okay. You mean you say knock knock, and I say who's there? Yeah, okay. Knock knock. Also, I got to start an ad. See, what do I say now? All right. I got to run an ad. I'll be back in 3 minutes. I guess actually I can show the timer. No, not quite. Red name. That was the worst joke ever. All right. Hey, can you still see this? Small. I mean, if it's small for you, then it's probably small for at least somebody else. It's time. You have to put it in theater mode to read it. I also went to prep school, and now that I don't know. Here's what I would like to know. I don't know. There's a technique to make like this chunk not not be there, isn't there? Okay, are we back from the ad? We're back from the ad. All right. I'm going to lock in because these are going to be a whole lot harder because I got all the ones right on the first one. At least I assume I did. But stop me if you have any, if anybody has any questions, because I know y'all are having a real hard time with this. Uh, okay, and full disclosure, I figured that one out while I was sitting here. So here's a good idea. Can I flag this? Where's my thing that says flagged for review? There we go. There we go. Lock the fuck out. I'm still in the chess category. I am, aren't I? Son of a. Why I need mods to tell me not to be an idiot. You know, I know that's too small, but Looks like I have three correct answers here, so I'm gonna be really interested to see what the answer key says on that one. And the rest of these are probably going to be really quick and easy. Notes. Yeah, using verb tense to get the answer. Yeah. Okay, we want to emphasize the similarity. Now, this is a module two, and I've probably made a perfect score on module one. So these are going to be harder. They still might be three. They still might be ones where I don't have to look at the notes though. Yeah, no need for the notes. Indicate which category. Okay, this doesn't say which category it's in, so that's not right. This mentions diplomatic correspondence and does give a category. It doesn't actually say that diplomatic correspondence is marked as confidential. This says nothing about it. All right, so I'm gonna go back and look at the ones I flagged. Okay, this one, uh, this was definitely okay. This mentions an observation. This doesn't. And it doesn't introduce competing hypotheses. Okay, this is all correct, but it's in the wrong order. Yeah, this one, I'm not sure why I marked that one. That was pretty clearly the right. This one, I have no idea. I'm completely stuck on this. I have 2 minutes to figure it out. Appealing to, you can't be assessed by appealing to standards that are independent of your social circumstances. Okay, this makes more sense because the way the text actually started. And we're right here, we're talking about from different societies being able to evaluate each other's the moral quality of each other's actions. Okay, so A and C are actually seem to be correct according to the text. But which one most logically completes the text? This is this is making the conclusion fit with um so C I think C is a true statement based on the text, but it doesn't logically complete the text in the sense that it's as a conclusion. We need something that functions as a conclusion for the text, and it doesn't say anything about the what was mentioned in the introduction of the text, which is this idea that you can judge someone's actions morally independent of their circumstances. In other words, you and I, if we, well, you and I is a bad example, but if I read about somebody who lived 3,000 years ago in a different uh, society, I can still judge the moral quality of their actions. The Aztecs would have disagreed with me on that. So saying that I can do it was part of the introduction to that text. Answer choice B said the Aztecs would have disagreed that you could do that. So that's a good, that's the most logical way to conclude that test. So that was a really hard one. Because it looked like, because three of those answers were accurate statements based on the information given in the text. So you had to evaluate the text as a whole and see which one fulfilled the function that it was supposed to within that text. And see, that would have been different if the blank had been in the middle. I would have been applying a different standard for what would complete it. Because it was at the end, I needed to be looking for a good conclusion. So like there was layers to the approach to that question. And I mean, you saw I was stumped at first. The reason I marked it and moved on from it was I had no idea. I thought I even said at the time, it looks like there's three correct answers. I got nothing. I have no idea. So I guess that's actually a good thing to to mention what I teach students about how to handle when to move on, when to skip one and come back to. That is, I try to teach students to be a little bit more aggressive with moving on, with skipping and coming back than I was. I have a, my test taking habits are actually pretty bad because I go into every question expecting to get the answer with no difficulty at all. So I have to really convince myself that I need to move on. But with my students, I try to teach them. My general rule is if you've read the whole text and all the answer choices one time and you don't know the answer yet, skip it, mark it, skip it, and come back to it because there's so many other questions in that section that you will find easy. Go get them, get those points, then come back. Um, so that kind of worked in the sense that I did show essentially the idea of how I approach moving on and coming back. I didn't do it properly because I took way too long. I spent way too much time on that question before moving on. But but all right. I'll take a sip of water and then click this resume testing button. Oh yeah, math. Oh man, I should probably get my drawing pad. Oh wait, I can't use it. Oh, all right, I know what I'm gonna do. If I need to write stuff down, I'm gonna write it down and just show the camera. Now, for the ones that I can do in my head, I'm just gonna do them because we'll have time to go over the we'll have time to go over the methods afterwards. Oh, what's 39 times 6? Who knows? Well, it's more than 180. So, actually, this is a really good opportunity to talk about my technique for simplifying my approach to math questions, even though a lot of these I could do in my head and get the exact correct answer. Very often, especially in the module of a math section, there's no need. The answer choices make it obvious that three of them are wrong. Um, okay, here you have to remember your geometry. We do need to know that these two are parallel, and yeah, okay. Sadly, there are some questions like this where you have to remember something from a class. They're not all soft geometry. Let's see. Function represents the cost. How many games can be played for a total cost of $58? So if you needed to write this one down, you would write 58 in place of this f of x and then solve it. So you're going to end up with what? 44 equals 4x, so x is 11. This always throws me off. You don't have to, there's nowhere to click like submit answer or record answer or anything. You type it in there and then you click next. Okay, x minus 7. All right, notice we can divide the entire equation by 4. And the left side becomes 4x minus 7. So the right side becomes negative 6, right? So how much did she give as a tip, right? 10% would have been $5. So 20% would have been, would be $10. Triangles, how do they work? Depends on what you need them to do. All right. This one, I haven't looked at the answer choices yet, but I'm thinking it's going to say the new mean is one of them is going to be the new mean is bigger. One of them's going to be the new mean is the same. One of them going to be the new mean is less, and one of them's going to be the new mean cannot be determined. Which one is it? And by the way, yeah, it's worded a little different than I thought. So the are you no need to do any math here. We've got um, these five turtle nests with these five numbers of eggs. When we add another nest with 121 eggs, what happens to the average number of eggs? Okay, nobody's paying attention. So the average number of eggs goes down because 121 is less than all these other ones, right? So the original mean is greater than the new mean. All right. Our slope is -3 and our y-intercept is -1. But also we need y to be greater because that's a shaded region, right? So it's this. Which expression is equivalent to this? It's going to be 7x cubed plus 12, right? Oh, no. 8 plus 2 is 10, not 12. Okay, so the slope of line T is 8. Oh, sorry. Slope of line T is 8, and the y-intercept is 9, so it's going to be y equals 8x plus 9. The y-intercept, I know because the y-intercept is where x equals 0, right? And this is my slope-intercept form. Uh, y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept, right? Um, Profit just in another base. Are you saying I operate in more dimensions than you do? Are you calling me a five-sided triangle? Okay, a solution to the given equation. Well, these minus sevens are going to go away, and I have d minus 30 times d plus 30 equals 0. Something times something equals 0. At least one of those things has to equal 0. So the solutions are going to be 30 and minus 30. If the pentagonal shaped shoes fit. So I'm putting in a positive 30 because it keeps me from having to type in one symbol. He's implying you are a five-sided triangle. As for the proof, don't ask. Well, I'm definitely not going to ask you because you hate geometry. The sales totaled 896. The equation is this. So X is the small number of smaller containers. All right. So again, I don't have to actually do any math here. The way the equation is set up, 451 has to be the price of the smaller containers. Okay. The number of particles when it's at the surface. When it's at the surface, T is going to be 0. Um, so if I put it, that is a, and I can actually see it better on OBS than I can on my screen. But yeah, if I put in 0 for T, then I get 500. Right? Graph. Okay, we want this function, but shifted up 5. So it's this. Okay, to express C in terms of P and N, all right, I am going to write this down. Actually, this is probably one that I would do in my head. Um, well, no, I say that. I, I can do this in my head, but I would write it out anyway. So That is that backwards? If it's backwards, I'll fix it later. I mean, next stream, I won't have my camera backwards, is what I meant. Uh, so what was that? 19 minus p over a. Length of each edge is 29 inches. Each side is the shape of a square. What is the exterior surface area? All right. Actually, I'm not going to try to show that. We've got a box. So a cube has how many faces? Well, a die has six faces, right? That's a cube. Um, is 5 times 29 squared. Yeah, exactly. Um, so yeah, we have six faces, and each one is 29 squared inches, 29 square inches, 29 square inches. We do have a calculator also. Yeah, without the, so there's six, but without the lid, it's five. So 4,205, right? Okay, so the solutions to the given equation, um, 63 minus 45 is what? 18. So x minus 9, the absolute value of x minus 9 equals 18. That means x minus 9 equals either positive 18 or negative 18. So if x minus 9 equals 18, then x is 8, right? If x minus 9 equals negative 18, then x is minus 27. So 9 plus minus 27 is going to give us minus 18. Does that make sense? So the first thing I did was subtract 45 from both sides. And I got absolute value of x plus 9, x minus 9. Oh, wait, I said that wrong. Oh, man. After 25 years of this stuff, I still make mistakes with minus signs. All right. If absolute value of x minus 9 is going to equal 18, that means x minus 9 is either going to equal 18 or negative 18. If x minus 9 equals 18, then we add 9 to both sides, we get x equals 27. If x minus 9 equals negative 18, again, we add 9 to both sides, and we get negative 9. So it's a positive 27 plus a negative 9. So it's positive 18. Dang, what's up? Yeah, yeah, you were underthinking it, but I mean, we actually kind of were on the right track. There was a minus 9 inside the absolute value. That's what was throwing you off. Tangent of 92 pi over 3. All right, here's where we need, um, Well, I'm not going to start talking about modular arithmetic. We'll we'll get to that. We'll get to that. I'm going to probably do a separate stream to go over this. Uh, anyway, 2 pi over 3 is the relevant um, because this is going to be this is 90 pi over 3 plus 2 pi over 3. 90 pi over 3 is just 10 pi, um, which is a multiple of 2 pi, which means we've just gone around the circle a bunch of times. So we're back to where we started, and we've got 2 pi over 3 left over to go. All right. That's two-thirds of the way to 180, right? So that's going to be 120 degrees. The tangent of that, if we switch to the other side, okay, I really need to write this. I really need to show the diagram for this. Um, I'll come back to this one when I have time to show it. Which expression is equivalent to 42a over k plus that thing where k is greater than 0? Uh, any trig and radians? Um, yeah, but pi over 3 is 60, uh, which is relevant because I'll, I'll, um, okay, this is another one where I'm going to need to write it down, but I'm getting a little bit, I'm not actually low on time, but just in case the last few are hard, I'm gonna come back to these to actually do the explanation. Okay, equation of a circle. You don't necessarily have to memorize. You don't have to be able to write down the equation of a circle, but you do have to know it. You have to know where all the parts go. So this is a circle centered at x equals -4, uh, and y equals +19, and the radius is 11. Uh, so we're asking which of the following is a possible value for the x coordinate of some point that lies on the plane. Um, now, technically, what we should do is, well, actually, I'm not sure. I think, hold on, now I'm confusing myself. Uh, yeah, the y term can't be imaginary. Well, so in this case, nothing's gonna end up being imaginary. Um, well, here's the thing. The x coordinate of my center is -4. It would be nice if I had something that was -4 plus 11 or -4 minus 11, but I don't. Um, because 11 is the radius of the circle. That's another thing that's like, you just have to remember. You have to know that from the formula. Um, hey, thanks for the 1 bit, Elias. Oh, 2 bits. Oh, A, C, and D. Oh, okay. For A, yeah, this would be 144. So you're right. We'd end up taking the square root of a negative number. I'm glad you noticed that because I wasn't even thinking in that way. Um, so that's not going to work, like you said. With 14, this term is going to be less than 100, so this will still be positive the way like we need it to be. Um, this is going to give us 15 squared, which is more than 121. This is going to give us 23 squared, which is a whole lot more. So yeah, you're right. B is the only one. All right, good. um, all right. This was supposed to be me showing how I would do it. But that's fine. This works. Uh, it's also good to see that one, I don't necessarily just know the answer as soon as I look at the question every single time. Uh, Two, there's multiple ways to approach these things, and finding the correct approach isn't always just about finding the correct answer. The best approach is the one that gets you the correct answer quickly, which is definitely the one you just um, the approach that you just mentioned. All right. Uh, Prism has a height of 9. All right. So right off the bat, it can't be uh, A or B. We're going to have a 9 by itself. Gang, this is the SAT, which is a university entrance exam. But it's only in the United States, so you might have never seen it. Um, and then we need it's 9 times whatever the area of the base is. The area of the base is going to be X times something that's 7 inches more than X, right? Because the length is X and the width is uh, 7 more than the base. So we need 9 times X plus 7. Function is defined by this. F of 24 is less than 0. Okay, this is one this is going to, yeah, I mean, I'm sure you have something like this. It's just probably, well, it's definitely not this exact test. Um, but this, all right. I'm not going to say anything about this one until the ad break is over. Did I just freeze? I'm not going to say anything about this till the ad break is over. I'm going to run an ad for 3 minutes and then I'll start talking about this one. Oh, we back already? Wait, are we? I don't know. My thing is showing we have 2 minutes left on the ad. These questions are disgusting. Well, that's good, dang. Some people don't have to. Some people really need to. And what I do for a living is help them do it. So we're back from the ad. All right. So now, first of all, this says a lot of stuff. But when you look at this one, where it says f of 24 uh, is less than zero, that's all you need. There's implications about A and B. Yeah, exactly. So first of all, um, f of 24 being negative, right? Tells me if I plug in 24 for x here, well, okay, first of all, the stuff underneath the square root, I'm never going to end up um, a times something under a square root. If that gives me a negative number, then the only way it's going to do that is if a is negative. Um, because we are told this is in the xy plane. There's no complex numbers allowed. So, so a has to be negative. Um, f of f of zero. Uh, so one thing we know is f of zero cannot be negative 24. Oh wait, no, we don't know that. Hold on. What do we know? But what can we know about b? It also passes through the point negative 24 comma 0. All right. So that means f of negative 24 is 0. Well, we already know that a is negative. So that means, yeah, a isn't 0, which means the stuff uh, under the square root has to be equal to 0. And if x is minus 24, then b is plus 24, which means a being negative and b being positive, a has to be less than b. So again, we really didn't do. I mean, I'm going to write all that out. Ooh, wait, oh shit, I forgot. Okay, the tangent of 60 is it's square root of 3 over 3, but then over 3. Hold on, shit. Oh, wait, I just confused myself. It was just square root of 3, I think. All right, this is module 2, and it's probably going to be hard, so I'm going to have to kind of lock in here. Also, Callum, are you still here? Or Elias? Because I need somebody modding on YouTube to make sure I don't do anything stupid. Um, we got, are either of y'all on YouTube, watching this on YouTube? So 11 squared is 121. 9 squared is 81. So that's 202, right? So square root of that. On, yeah, on YouTube. Sorry, I didn't. I don't know if I even mentioned that. Okay, so the slope here is going to be 2. Well, this is the only one with a slope of 2. So, same as here. Yeah, Elias. I mean, I know there's not much going on. I just need to have somebody on there keeping an eye on it. Main thing is I don't need to do anything dumb and get the stream cut off because I'm going to be using this as you know, a VOD. A- all right, anyway, maximum weight 5,630 pounds. And so the number should be 5,440. When we write this down, it's going to be 25x plus 62y plus 190 is going to have to be less than 5,630, less than or equal to. This is our maximum. But then we're going to subtract 190 from both sides and we get this. The solution to the system, all right. Normally I would use Desmos. I teach my students to use Desmos. The reason I do that is because my students are faster at Desmos. I, on the other hand, am not. I'm faster at just solving it the old fashioned way. Um, not this one though. I'm graphing this. It's this little graphing calculator that I've got pulled up right here. All right, there's my intersection point, -2, -5. Boom. That is how you solve a system of equations with a graphing calculator. That's how I would do it. That's the algebra way. Normally, I would do it that way. But if it's even a little bit tricky, like if it's got a fraction in it, I'm not fooling with it. I'm just going to graph them, look for the point where they intersect. That's my solution. Okay, range. It's the difference between the highest and the lowest. So that's what? 29? They put these in order for me. So 29. All right, I'm graphing this too. The sky system of equations. I'm going to call this is going to be my well, this is going to be my loaves of bread. because it's the one that's mentioned first in the problem. So x plus 2y, and y is a dozen eggs, equals 12.45, right? And the second one tells me 4x plus y equals 1942. All right. And again, I'm just looking for the intersection, and it's my y coordinate that's a dozen eggs, right? So I want 434. All right. Again, these used to be really hard when you didn't have a graphing calculator. Now they're extremely easy. Y equals 18. Y equals -3 x minus 18 squared plus 15. Right? When I graph that, oops, I get I get these two things that do not intersect at all. It's a question because they're making sure you know how to use a graphing calculator, which is very important skill to have now that you have to be able to use one, because everybody has one. It's like, all right, the greatest possible value of x is this guy right here, -6. There are two solutions. One of them, the x value is -9. The other one is -6. Okay, it's asking for the y-intercept. That's going to be where x equals 0. So the slope is -5/3. So there's my work. Hope you can see it. If not, I'll go over it afterwards. Uh, but the y-intercept is 10. Oops. Oops. Oh, why am I graphing this? I got I got into graphing mode. Uh, so this is going to be 12x minus 36 equals minus 3x uh, minus 36. So those 36's go away, and I end up with 15x equals 0. Only one value for x that's going to make that true. So she bought y. Yeah, 15x equals 0. I'll let me flag that one, and we'll go back. Oh, actually, it won't matter if I flag it because I won't see it afterwards. Well, actually, yeah, I'll flag it now, and we should have time to go back and look at it. But if you do the algebra, you end up with something that says 15x equals 0. And the question was, how many solutions does that have? Well, it has one. X has to equal 0, right? Okay, so she purchased this much fabric. Why? She used 5x. So if you take the amount she purchased and subtract out the amount she used, you get 6. So she purchased 6 yards more than what she used. Right? Which one has no real solutions? This is one where the quadratic formula is the front. Remember what's the under the square root? Ah, you definitely can't see that, right? Under the square root in the quadratic formula, right? The whole thing looks like this. But the question is, which of these things has no real solution? If there's no real solution, the only way that's going to happen is if the stuff underneath the square root is negative, right? Then we're going to have two complex solutions or two imaginary solutions. So all we need to know is b squared minus 4ac is negative or not. Uh, so for this one, it's definitely not going to be because A is 1 and C is negative 49. We're subtracting that out, so it's going to be positive. So our C is going to have to be positive. So it can't be A or C. Uh, what is 14 squared? 96. What is 49 times 4? 196. Oh, I didn't look at D. Okay, D is obvious. We'll come back to that if my First we had Joe under the square root. Now we have Red Nate's brain under the square root. Okay. So when when x equals 0, we get f of x equals 1. When x equals 4, we get f of x equals 1.84. We need to, uh, oh wait, sorry. I think I was, notice we can rewrite this as this. If that doesn't make sense off the bat, we'll go back over it. But once we write it this way, you can see that what's inside uh, the parentheses is going to be 1.84 to the 1/4 power. All right. Well, that's the fourth root, right? But more to the point, 1.84, we can just do to the 0.25 power. We get 1.16 uh, 4 something. So that's going to round to 1.16. All right. So 1 plus 0.16, right? So what's heat? It's 16 over 100 gives us that 0.16 that we needed, right? Hope that makes sense. If not, we'll go back over it. All right. So I'm going to rewrite this like this. And again, if you don't, all I did there was just one step of algebra for each, for the, for the top and the bottom, right? When you put it that way, you can see that if t is equal to 10, then you end up with, uh, mm, okay, it's kind of hard to describe, but t has to be 10. That's another one we'll have to go over. I'm trying not to spend too much time on these because this is a module two that the ones at the end are going to be really hard. Okay. B is 4. C is -6. C is the y-intercept. B is the x-coordinate. I mean, sorry. The way we find B is that the x-coordinate of the vertex is equal to negative B over 2A. All right. A is 2. The x-coordinate of the vertex is -1. Just looking at the graph. All right. So you end up with this. X-coordinate of the vertex, that's my -1 there. Oops. That's my -1 equals negative B over 2 times A is 2, right? So when I solve that, I get B is equal to 4. And then if I just look at the graph, I mean, C is, if I let X equal 0, I get -6, right? So C is -6. But if you're looking at a graph, it's always the y-intercept because that's where X equals 0 on the graph, right? So, um, so B is 4, C is -6, so BC is -24. Which equation could define f of x? All right. Um, First of all, the coefficient of my x term is going to have to be negative because I have a negative slope, right? So C is going to have to be a negative number. Um, so the fact that, oh, also that does also depend on the fact that C is positive. Um, so I should have said we're going to have a negative C in our answer. We also we're going to have a negative D because it's we're getting a plus 19, but our y-intercept, which will be 19 plus D, is equal to 3. So D, we're going to have a negative D because D is positive. Um, so 19 plus D is not going to give us 3. I hope that explanation wasn't as bad as it sounded in my when it came out. Okay, AB is square root of 34. AC is 3. CE is 21. Okay, so what we need to do is figure out the length of CB and then multiply that by 3 to get the length of ED. And then we can figure out. I wish I could draw on this thing with my drawing pad. I'm gonna have to find a way to do that. Yum triangles. They are delicious, aren't they? So what's CB? Well, AC is 3. AB is square root of 34. Length of erectile dysfunction. Yeah. Uh, oh, and I said that wrong. It's well, we'll get back to that. Um, so 3 squared plus CB squared is going to equal 34. 3 squared is 9. 34 minus 9 is some number, 25. So CB is 5. Right. CE is 21. That means that AE is 24. So that means AE is 8 times AC, which means, given that these have to be similar triangles, that means ED is also 8 times CB. CB is 5, so DE is 40. This side's 40, this side's 24. We multiply those and then divide by 2, right? Well, 40 times 24 is what? Actually, let's divide by 2 first. Let's do 24 times 20. So that's 408, right? So that's my area. All right, increasing by a percentage. This means we're both adding and multiplying. We're adding 400% of x to x. So x times 5 is 60. That means x is 12. Going a little fast now. And once again, I've talked too much and I'm running out of time. So I'm not going to I'm going to have to, I may just have to explain the approach to some of these rather than actually doing them. Circle has the center, C, coordinates this, the length of A, B. A and B are on the circle. All right. So the length of AC is the square root of 103. So the length of AB is going to be this. I'll explain that afterwards. Okay, this is going to be 4,640 times 9. Gotta remember, you can't just do times 3. So 13,920. I just did times three. I just said we can't do times three, and then I did times three. 41,760. There we go. Scatter plot. We're multiplying. Data set F. Okay, we need the y-intercept to be, all right, it's going to have to be A. So let's go back and look at 11. Wait, we are done actually. Hold on. Why did I think we were running out of time? Did I skip one? No, I didn't skip any. I just stopped explaining very well. Okay. There were several of these that I really didn't explain properly, but this is the one that I flagged, so I'll show it. Oh, and I've already written some of this down. All right, if you multiply those, if you just distribute each side of that equation, you end up with this, right? 12x minus 36 equals negative 3x minus 36. When I add 36 to both sides, I get 12x equals minus 3x. Well, 12x equals minus 3x. Actually, you can already see the only way for that to work is if x equals 0, right? But if you do another step of algebra, it becomes more obvious. As a matter of fact, that's all algebra is. You're taking an expression and changing the form of it and changing it and changing it until you get it into a form where you can see what the answer is. So if you get 12x equals minus 3x, you can probably see from that that x is going to have to equal 0. But if you can't, you can do another step of algebra and say add 3x to both sides, and I get 15x equals 0. Well, then x is going to have to be 0. As a matter of fact, you can do another step if you want to. Divide both sides by 15. 15x divided by 15 is just x. 0 divided by 15 is 0. Now you explicitly have your equation says x equals 0. Right? How would I rate my experience of taking a test? Excellent. Best test ever. Thanks for your feedback. You're welcome. Okay, view my score. Oh, wait. It's this window. Yeah, here we go. Yes, thank you. I have successfully logged in. Thanks for letting me know. Oh, 1,500. Oh, oh, okay. Maybe I did talk too much. All right, let's see what I missed. Uh, Drag me down, man. Oh, let's see. What did I mess up? Um, Oh wait. Oh, here we go. Incorrect. Okay, wait, is that the first one? Yeah. Okay, this is the first one I got incorrect. Oh, all right. Here's the disadvantage. Well, disadvantage. Here's the uh, don't go too fast. This is obviously B. I there's no possible way I thought it was C. I meant to click B and I clicked C. That's the only way this could have happened. So I was going too fast. Um, wait, it did say this is B, right? Oh, oh no. Okay, never mind. I did get it wrong. So I was going too fast, but I didn't click I didn't click the wrong thing. I picked the wrong answer because I didn't pay attention to the fact that this phrase, this phrase here is is going to have to be the beginning of a sentence because I mean it's going to have to be at the very beginning, and it's going to have to be one of those um, phrases that modifies the subject of the sentence. Wiggins sculpture, or let's just say sculptures, that's the subject. Um, so this sentence should end here, and you should be starting a new sentence for this phrase. I just didn't read the whole thing. That's the drawback of my method of don't read the whole thing. Um, but okay, and also I'm sure I was in the middle of talking, but let's not. I'm not going to use that as an excuse. I I went too fast, and I didn't pay attention to the fact that this is going to have to be its own sentence, basically. So it needed to start a new sentence here. Um, even so, the approach of not reading the whole thing still probably paid off because if I had been going slow enough to catch that, I probably also would have been going too slow to get as many correct answers as I got. And if I managed to get two correct answers with the time I saved on this one, then it was still worth it. Now, that sounds like justification. It's not really it's not a justification for me missing it, but it does show that my approach is the right approach, even if you screw up. That don't do what I did on this. Just, I mean, this one's short enough. There's no reason not to read the whole thing. I was trying too hard to save time. I committed too much to the save as much time as you can strategy. It's not necessary on something this short. Also, yeah, I was probably distracted. But again, I don't. Let's see. I don't want to click that X. How do I get back to the? Okay, I clicked the X anyway. It worked. What else did I miss? 18 and 19. Yeah, okay. Clear glass. allows all light to pass through. Semicolon. Wax paper allows only some light to pass through. Again, I was just going too fast. Um, it's the same thing, actually. We need to start a new sentence. In this case, our option for starting a new sentence is using a semicolon. But essentially, semicolon functions the same way as a period. Um, it starts a new sentence, starts a new clause, but and you don't have to capitalize the the word after it. Otherwise, it's identical to using a period. Um, again, I just didn't see that this needed to be a new sentence of its own. Let's see, 19. Uh, frameworks underlie. I said underlies. Not real sure how I made that mistake. Really don't know how I did that. Gotta be honest. So this is just a tense matching. The subject of this verb is uh, frameworks. Plural. The plural form of this verb is underlined. Pretty easy. Not sure how I missed that. Uh, oh, that was, that was a module two. So technically that was a harder question. I guess I'll take some comfort from that. Okay, now what did I miss on math? Don't tell me I missed a. As long as I didn't miss a module one. Oh, I missed a module one question. Two module one questions. Oh, this one I knew I had messed up. Um, um, this was the one I saved for the end because I was going to talk about it, and then I was I was I talked too much on the last one, and I had like 3 seconds when I came back to this one, and I just clicked the first thing I saw, and it was uh, I didn't even know which one I clicked. So I guess it was possible I could have gotten it, but um, so okay. So the reason it's A is because we're talking about tangent of two pi over three. Probably can't see that, but it starts. Oops, there we go. Starts here and swings around all the way to here. That's 120 degrees, right? But the angle that you really use as a reference is this, which is a 60-degree angle. So your tangent is going to be the opposite over the adjacent. Well, opposite is a positive number because we're above the x-axis, right? But the adjacent is going to be a negative number because we're to the left of the y-axis. So it's just whatever tangent of 60 is, which is square root of 3. Um, but you have to remember to make it negative because one of the numbers in your ratio is negative. So yeah, I don't feel as bad about that one because that was because I was explaining something else. Let's see. Now, what did I do on this one? How did I get this one wrong? Oh, yeah. Okay, so this wording threw me off. And again, I was trying to talk and explain it at the same time, and I misread it. So we need length times width times height. All right. Height is 9. So we need 9 times two other things. A and B are already out because they don't have between C and D. I thought it was C because I read this as saying the width is 7 inches more uh, than the base. Yeah, it's just tricky wording. Um, this is this is what I tell students all the time. This is why I say so often it's not really a test of knowledge. It's a test of skill. And really, it's very similar to chess in that it's about awareness much as anything else. Right? It's not that I don't know how to find the volume of a rectangular prism, and it's not that I don't know how to translate word problems into algebra. They worded it in a tricky way. They did it on purpose, and they got me. Would they have gotten me if I hadn't been talking? Probably not. But still, it's a good example of how they can get you, even if you know what you're doing. Uh, let's see. And then I missed 10, and that should be the only one on. Oh no, I missed two in module two also. What is the y coordinate of the y-intercept? Okay, I wrote my work down on this one. This, oops, I forgot. I turned off autofocus, but essentially, in order to solve for this, I needed to plug in x equals minus 6. And I plugged in x equals 6. So I got the wrong answer because I made a mistake with a minus sign. It still happens to me after decades of doing this. So on the one hand, don't feel bad about it. On the other hand, be aware that it's one of the biggest things that causes wrong answers. Eagle, the math is going to be over in like, well, with one more question. Uh, Billy, Roy Rogers, my dad is here. Uh, what have you got your head in your hands for? Oh, I know what this is. I know what it is. It's a disappointment. You're disappointed in your son. Let's see. I added an extra zero on this. How did I do that? Yeah, what happened to the last percentile? I rate you better than that. Uh, I'm kidding. My dad is not disappointed in me. At least he wouldn't say that out loud. Um, I assume that was for the first thing, or the second thing. It could be either. Could be both. Uh, I'm I'm running up on an ad break. You know what? No, I'm gonna pause this, snooze this ad break. We've only got this one left to go, and then we'll do a break. Um, all right. Somehow I just added a zero to this. Oh, I completely misread the question. This is the coincidence that my answer sort of looked like the correct answer. All right. So this is actually worth talking. Um, the electric flux through the surface is the product of the electric field strength and the area of the surface. All right. The flat surface, that's where we're starting, consisting of two squares. The side length of the larger square is three times the side length of the smaller square. Right off the bat, we're talking about squares, but we're told the difference in their side length. So the thing we're being asked to calculate, we already know, is going to be based on their area, not their side length. So before we do anything else, let's get that hurdle out of the way and convert this to area. If I have two squares and one of them has a side length that's three times the other one, the area of the bigger one is nine times the other. Okay, this thing is insisting on an ad break, so I'm going to do that, and then we'll get back to this. This is probably going to take a minute. So never passed the SAT today. I mean, this is the by far the hardest question on this particular test. I think most of these you wouldn't have had any trouble with. Mm, Well, there's some algebra stuff on there that you probably forgot because I forgot it until I started tutoring the SAT. Where you can get it wrong in an infinite number of ways. Not gentlemanly. I agree. Copy paste into Gemini. Best makers, best maker used to have decorum. Um, you know what I am going to ask Gemini right now, though? Check out Moodle. All right. Don't blame you. We said hi. How it's all will grade you on your writing and don't mess up and type an integer. Probably way more detailed than Gemini needs, but palette draw. That's adorable. I want to go to that website just because of its name. Thanks, Andy, for that update. Your ear itches, you say. Oh, wait. Um, Yeah. Okay. So can I just start drawing on this thing? Whoa. The steamer's favorite. Okay, Elias. That's not what it says. Oh, shit. I just realized why. Oops. I need to configure my drawing tool. Mapping. There we go. Okay. Awesome. Grape juice. Also, excellent insight. Ooh, what's happening? Oh, I see. All right. Now, let's change this to where we can see this. All right. For an electric field passing through flat surface. All right. A flat surface consists of two adjacent squares. So these aren't going to look like squares. They're not going to be adjacent, and they're definitely not going to be one is three times the length of the other. But roll with me. So if this is a side length of x, this side length is 3x. All right. So the area of the big rectangle compared to the area of the small rectangle. So the big rectangle is the area of it is 9x squared, right? The little one, the area of it is x squared. So that tells us big A is equal to 9 times little a, not 3. That's the whole point. That's why I spent all this time getting this drawing app ready, because to illustrate the fact that this um, side length of the larger square is 3 times the side length of the smaller square. That doesn't mean the larger square is 3 times the size of the smaller square. It means the larger square is 9 times the size of the smaller square, right? Now, electric field, 29 volts per meter. This is another key thing whenever you're dealing with a physics problem. The electric field is a product, right? It's an area. Let's not use capital A for this because I already used capital A. Let's just call it B, um, which is in some length squared. In this case, it's meters squared, right? Times, uh, let's just call it F volts per square meter. All right. What you mean? Okay. Sitar, the renowned French Belgian mathematician Jacques Tits, has a great name. Those are my thoughts. Okay. Sorry that took so long. So, first of all, I wrote this wrong. This is volts per meter. It's what we missed. Um, right. The total electric flux. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna worry about these units. I To do this properly as a physics problem, I would need to worry about the units. But I thought it was going to actually help us solve this problem, and it's not. So we're just going to ignore it. Um, the total is, what was it? 4,400, 4,640. Now that equals big A plus little a, which is 10x squared, uh, times 29. Oh no, what's happened? What's happening now? Boy. Um, it's all uh, this, so, so, uh, dude, uh, so you get this group started on the tits alternative. Trying to do a fucking SAT. Oh, all right. The, the point is, this is going to be 9 tenths. The electric flux through the larger square is going to be 9 tenths of the total. So, the time game face. Okay, so 4640 equals 10x squared. So some number, the electric flux through the bigger square is going to be, well, this big A contributed 9x squared to that, right? So that was 9 tenths. So that's going to be 9 tenths of 4,640. So when you put that in your calculator, you get 4,176. I don't know. I, at some point, when I first read this, I understood how I got it wrong, but now I've screwed around so much, I don't even remember. And also, I don't care. What's showing, oops, and I'm also not showing it on the screen. Fantastic. This, something like that. This is the calculation that I should have been doing, and I don't remember what I did. It's, anyway, great SAT, everybody. What are we going to do now? GRE? Yeah. Um, well, I mean, it explains the electromagnetic part. You don't have to actually know that. You just, all you really have to do is do the math. Um, but yeah, GRE is definitely on my agenda. I want to learn the LSAT first. Um, I'm told that the LSAT makes all these other tests look easy. Um, the GRE has a quantitative section, but Well, if I can pay attention on it, I can probably do fine on it. Yeah, GRE. I've done a couple of practice GRE. It's a little bit harder than the SAT, but it's not. It's very similar in terms of the amount of time you have. It's very similar. The questions themselves are a little harder to me. But then the ACT is different because you have a lot less time on the ACT. Um, so you're really depending on a lot more on knowledge. Getting ready for the ACT is as much about study as it is about practice. Like you need to know stuff down pat without having to think for the ACT. Um, but still, GRE is probably I don't know. That's a good question. Which one is actually harder, GRE or ACT? Studying is bullshit. I agree, but I can't play Geo right now because I'm dying. I got no brain power left. However, oh man, I was gonna say I'm gonna try to start earlier tomorrow, but that doesn't do you any good. You'll be in school. Would I rather die playing Geo or doing the SHL set? Not really a whole lot of difference there. It's for brain power equals X plus I. Exactly. It's imaginary. Well, it's complex. Matter of fact, what time is it? Good God, this I've been streaming for 4 hours. I swore I was only going to stream for 2 hours. But of course, if I was going to do that, why did I take a 4 hour test and then spend the entire time? If I was going to only stream for 2 hours, I should have done the test fast. Yeah, it's 8 p.m. That means it's 10 for me. Which means I should be going to bed soon. So I'm going to do that. Who's live? Who can we raid? Elias, are you going to stream? Raid Dion? Little prophets need to get their sleep so they can grow big and strong. That's exactly right. I will. I'll rate Dion if I can't find. I would rather rate a co-working stream just because that's what I've been doing. But if nobody I know is co-working, rate Dion and ask him about playing in the tournament. Good idea. Of course, I can ask him about playing in the tournament without rating. Uh, but yeah, nobody's co-working anyway. So yeah. Oh, raid Dion. Make sure I spelled that right. Nope. Put the underscore in the wrong place. All right, guys, this was fun. Um, Thanks for being here. Elias, appreciate you watching out for me on YouTube. And let's rate Dion. See y'all next time.